great motor industrialist Henry Ford once said, "Failure is simply an opportunity to begin again, but this time more intelligently." Now I can see from this, when we look at the question presented before me, is the United States in a period of recovery? To answer this question, first, we need to look to a recent Washington Post article published on March 28th. Now this article states is that the unemployment rate has dropped to 7.6%. And now that drop is that from the beginning of, at the end of 2012, the rate was 7.8%. And now it has dropped 0.2%, which is a great gain for the United States economy. And it's a great rate for the people that are able to get their jobs back. But now, we need to look to my three main points of analysis. First, we need to go look to how the United States economy is recovering from this major crisis. And second, we need to go and look what needs to happen to be able to further the status quo, help getting our economy in a period of recovery right now. And third, how our government is acting in the future so we can stay in recovery and go on to a period of prosperity. So now we go on to my first point of analysis. We jump back into 2008, which, according to a recent Washington Post article published on April 2nd, was one of the worst times for the American people. Because from this, there was hundreds of thousands of job losses, and our employment rate rose clear up to 14% unemployed, which was like the Great Depression, where we had 25% unemployed. That was only 10% off. That was still a major amount of damage done from this. But what you see from this is we're in that bad a boat yet. That is why, when we look over to a recent Forbes magazine article published on March the 31st, it states that at this current point in time, the United States economy is growing by our gross domestic product is growing steadily by 0.02% on every quarter. And with that steady income, can grow us going out of recovery slowly into a better plane of prosperity. Which leads me to my second point, which is, what is the United States doing right now? And first, we go to one major failure the United States done, the sequester, that Congress was unable to pass in first place back in the early beginning of March, which, according to a recent Economist article, states how the sequester hurt many military jobs and state workers' revenue and their pay. And now we need to look to a recent Atlanta Times article that stated how right now in this current point in time, the United States needs to step 1 foot forward to be able to go ahead and solve for this crisis. For we're being undermined by not being able to go to grow the gross domestic product, and the sequester taking away jobs which have been gained in the past, which is going to overwhelmingly be very hard on the economy also. Which, when we look at the question for me today, is it going into recovery? That sequester is making it fall back into recession slowly. But what we can see is if our gross domestic product keeps increasing, we can go into a better state. Now from this, we need to look forward to my third following points of analysis. Third, which is what we need to see happen for Congress to be able to go forward and so we can go into a period of great prosperity. Now, first what we see from this is that the normal unemployment rate for a country is 4.5%. And since right now we're at 7.6%, we're only close to 3% away from the ideal number. That what we can tell from this is that if the gross domestic product keeps increasing, which according to a Washington Post article published on April 3rd, says that if gross domestic product keeps increasing, then our unemployment rate will continue to decrease even lower and slower, making it an even more viable option for us to be able to do. But what we can see from this, when we look at Henry Ford's quote, where failure is simply opportunity to begin. And we saw failure back in 2008 when the stock markets crashed and everything went black and blue. Then we saw another failure in 2013 when the sequester was failed to be passed. But now, we can see when Ryan Paul passed the 2014 fiscal budget plan that we are starting to begin again, and thus we will be starting again more intelligently. Thank you for your time, Judge.